Hello and welcome to So Farscape,
a fun-filled Farscape fancast by a fervent fan.
And a frankly fascinated first-timer.
Very good. I'm Cocky.
I'm Kay, and this is the story So Farscape.
I love that you're frankly fascinated. I really enjoy that moniker.
It's really the only thing I can say about myself when it comes to Farscape. I'm really eager to find out what happens to the people on board Moya.
And how the various plots are advanced from the first season onto the second.
Yeah, not very much in this episode, but
it's another one of those like kind of a Planet of the Week episode.
I suppose so. Yes.
So we had that last week as well when we did Vitas Mortas, and this week we are doing Taking the Stone, Season 2, Episode 3, written by... just squinting into my memory banks here. Oh, no, of course, it's Justin Monjo.
Ah, yes, he did several other episodes, didn't he?
That's right. The Flax and A Human Reaction.
Oh.
And The Hidden Memory. That was the second part of the season finale, four-parter, kind of.
Oh, yeah, a two-parter in 4 parts.
Yeah, or a four-parter in 3 parts. If you take Bone to be Wild, it's kind of a standalone in the middle.
True, but even then there's a little bit of plot advancement between the whole story, that especially with Scorpius and his endeavors when he matched his way onto the asteroid.
That's a really euphemistic way of saying it. Scorpius and his endeavors.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to say about Scorpius? Well, lots actually, but
and we have and we will, but he doesn't feature at all. Oh, Rowan Woods is the director. Oh, Back to the Future. That was him. And Thank God It's Friday again. And also A Human Reaction. So this is Rowan Woods and Justin Monjo.
No, they've worked together on some of these before.
A Human Reaction, I think, was both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought was a very good episode, so let's...
Sorry, but I jumped the gun. I didn't give you a chance to do the story So Farscape.
I'm still doing the story So Farscape?
Oh, I can do it this time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's actually surprisingly difficult. I'm trying to be clever.
Okay.
Yeah. A man out of his depth, an American science jock, is on a living ship full of strange alien creatures who have become his friends and with whom he's had many, many adventures. But... They're in a weird situation now because they're not really being hunted so much.
Not that much. I mean, well, Scorpius, as we just mentioned, is probably still after John in particular. He doesn't care much about the rest, he has shown.
Yeah.
Also,
you don't feel that constant sense of, like, it doesn't seem like they're constantly trying to stay ahead of Scorpius.
No, they seem to be a little bit of lost for a purpose at this point. I mean, they've clearly long since given up on trying to find any star charts, or even when they do find them, to do anything with them.
Yeah, they've abandoned that.
And it's just turned into a bit of, ship drifting around the galaxy. We don't exactly know where or how they are or what they're doing. It's like they don't have a stated purpose. They don't say, like, oh, we're going to try and do this. We're going to try to make our way back to Delvia Prime or whatever the planet's called. Or I mean, they're still in the uncharted territories. You'd think that if they wanted to go back to one of their homeworlds, they would start by getting out of the uncharted territories. Now, the point with the uncharted territories is there's no charts of them, but you generally have an idea of where the uncharted territories are in relation towards the charted territories.
No, exactly. Certainly, so, if you're in, like, are we in the right galaxy?
Exactly.
What shape is the galaxy that we want to go to?
So you think, like, point the ship in the right direction and get back to, like, the charted parts of it.
See, for the longest time, in my original watch, which was on the BBC, and that was without subtitles, I thought it was the uncharted territories, as in...
Oh, okay, yeah.
They are charted, but they're like non-aligned worlds.
That makes sense, yeah.
And you've got, like, maybe Delvian territories.
That would make sense, yeah. Hut space.
Yes, on the Outer Rim, Star Wars, very good. With the center of government being Nar Shaddaa.
I think so, yeah. Well, you wouldn't really call it government, but yes, that's the smuggler's planet, as it's also known.
I've recently started a side pod with our cosplaying friend Greg.
We have podcasts at home, Cocky.
Yes, but this time I get to be you. It's called Rebel Air, and he's showing me Star Wars Rebels, which I've never seen before, and it is so interesting to sit on the other side of the sort of glorious divide
and watch it with a completely open mind and just get to think and speculate about everything that's going on. And
yes, until as you put it, steam comes out of his eyes. Although I've given him the handy option that anytime I speculate too much and he doesn't want to comment one way or the other, he can plead the Sith.
Ah, very good.
You can find us at rebelair.com or rebelairpod on Twitter and Instagram.
That's air with an H. I've been Cocky.
I've been Greg. Do, 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 do.
All right, okay, so let's dive in.
Prepare for starburst!
Oh, diving is appropriate.
It's like Acapulco all over again, except no water.
What does that mean, Kay?
I'm talking about those cliff diver things, those people jumping off high cliffs in Acapulco for the benefit of the tourists.
Oh, okay, yeah. Never been myself.
No, nor I,
alas.
but I've seen it in various TV shows and things. For some reason, I have a memory of in the 80s, like cliff diving being a real big thing that occasionally shows up in various programs.
I kind of feel that as well. Like it was a little fad there for a while. I can't really place it.
So, yeah, diving straight in, like Chiana stumbling through the corridors.
Yeah, there's for a second I thought we were doing Far Side of the Moon again, because there's this sort of bizarre heartbeat soundtrack in the background and these synthesizers, and I was just waiting for like Breathe to start.
I thought she was just drunk or drugged or something like that.
All right. She walks in on Crichton and asks if he's busy. He says yes, he is. He's
trying to make sense of the navigational systems.
What are you breaking now?
Not breaking anything. Trying to see how our quote-unquote navigation system, quote-unquote, works.
I still think a lot of it is just Pilot making shit up as he goes along.
Yes. And he does not have time for Chiana, even when she says straight up,
Yeah.
I need to talk.
Yeah, that struck me as a little strange. I mean, like John's like been very concerned about his fellow crewmates. And I guess he's just like, we've all been there, you're working on something, you're being frustrated, and you're focused on your task, and someone comes by, and you kind of like, not right now, I'm working on something, that if I stop now, I'm going to have to start all over again. He clearly just does not pick up on Chiana's urgency here, I suppose.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what? I would like to invoke the special clause of the Treaty of Mintaka 3, where it's okay if we talk out of order.
Yeah.
Because I actually think this episode is not so interesting to discuss beat by beat. Mm-hmm. And I think that the sort of emotional arcs are more interesting to discuss.
Okay.
So how do you feel about that? About like being kind of loose and quick with what actually happens? Because it sort of felt a little bit slack, I've got to say. Like, I had that feeling with Vitas Mortis as well, the previous episode where Dargo finds the Orican.
Yeah.
It felt like the sort of Star Trek The Next Generation mystery of the week where, we have to get to the end of this scene before we earn another clue that'll advance the plot to the next one.
I see what you mean.
Which is kind of different from the kind of energy that we've seen on Farscape, like Mystery of the Weeks so far, where it's much more like, I guess, House, where there's an early like misdiagnosis, and then we try and fix that, and then a new misdiagnosis. Here, like, the stakes are very clear from the start, and we just have to watch these people take a long time to get to the solution that we can recognize as obvious.
Right. Well, there's a lot of emotional and storytelling development without there actually being a lot of things happening, really. There's a few scenes in where there's like, stuff happens, but there's no clear progression. Go to here, rescue this person, shoot those people, and do that. So it's a lot of sitting around and talking, and people sharing emotions and like trying to figure out what the other people are up to and what's bothering them.
Yeah. Because let's take a look at like the major sort of emotional arcs in this episode. One of them is Chiana, who's dealing with grief.
Yes.
Because in this early scene, we see her stumbling about, and she actually goes to the maintenance bay, flips up a desk lamp that I recognized.
I noticed that desk lamp as well.
They painted it bronze, so it looks very cool. But I have seen that in IKEA.
It's the little bar sticking out from the bottom from it.
Yes,
which you can,
grippy bar, so you can actually move it.
So you don't have to touch the hot lamp. Yes.
Yeah, she cuts open her belly. Not a lot of blood, I noticed.
No, well, it looked like some sort of weird cauterizing instrument, which was kind of weird anyway, because it's like you'd think that something used for incisions and stuff wouldn't be coiled. But
well, I mean,
we know that she's like of royal descent now because she has blue blood.
Very good. Actually, we've seen that before when Salas was murdered. Her jailer. We also remarked that there wasn't a lot of blood.
Yeah.
Okay,
so maybe they just don't do a lot of bleeding.
So
what's her species called again?
Oh, Nabari.
Nabari, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, she digs out a hockey puck-like device.
And I was thinking, her order is ready, and she can go and pick it up from the buffet window.
I was thinking like her. I don't know. I was thinking she had like some sort of medication, some sort of drug, some sort of chemical that she needs. And
my IUD wore out.
Exactly. Well, or her insulin pump, or something along those lines. That's where my thoughts immediately went when I saw that thing.
Right.
And she's now going to have a problem. We're going to have to go and find the thing that she needs to stay alive.
But it turns out that this is actually what Zahn recognized as a life disc, and it indicates that the person on the other end of the disc is now no longer alive, and that's what propels her grief. So that's one of the major sort of tentpole arcs in this episode. Mm-hmm. The other one is Crichton dealing with like his own guilt for having not made any time for Chiana, and his sense of responsibility for her as a member of his family, and having to learn like how to do that. And what's interesting especially is that he has to learn how to do that from Erin.
Yes.
Like, in this episode, she's the dove and he's the hawk. He's the one who wants to club Chiana and drag her back to the ship and just set her straight and stop her from making a mistake.
Which would exactly normally be Erin's method, which he actually comments on.
You can't take her like this.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Erin, what the hell is wrong with you? You are the pinup girl for frontal assault. You should be dragging her back to the ship yourself.
Then Erin goes like, you're not getting it.
She has to make this choice.
This journey. And I mean, I suppose it's a way that she's dealing with her grief of her brother having died, which we, interestingly enough, don't learn anything about, which I thought was a very powerful thing. It's like, all she knows is that he's dead. This life disc has ceased working, which apparently makes her feel weird, which, I mean, you'd think that a life disc having that implanted like that, it seems like a odd way to go about things,
Yeah, I wonder what it normally does.
Yeah.
And why you would have it so deep inside. I mean, maybe you can feel it. Maybe you can feel...
I mean, clearly, considering how it's making her feel when she's stumbling around, it's clearly doing something to her that makes her feel distraught or drunk. I mean, that's what I said. It looks like she was acting like she was like drunk or drugged.
Imagine if the life disc is just constantly like giving experiential telemetry. That if Neri has a 3-day bender, that she gets to enjoy his wooziness.
I mean, it would make more
his hangover.
It would make more sense if it was some sort of emotional connection that it gives you a little bit of the other person's emotional state. That would make a lot more sense.
I do not know that I would want to shackle myself to an 18-year-old.
I totally wouldn't. But
no.
I mean, it makes more sense than transport physical sensation. I mean, that's pretty much useless unless you're nearby. So if your star system's apart, then he's getting his leg on. Or he's having or you just got shot. It's it doesn't really help you in any way, shape, or form.
But it clearly means a lot to her. To
Chiana, who smashes up a poor little DRD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently they have green goo inside them.
Wrong place, wrong time. Yeah. And this is after she does almost a benediction gesture. She folds the life disc between her steepled hands and raises it up over her head. And then she acts out against the poor little DRD that didn't deserve that.
No, not at all. Then we have an angry Erin who is very much distressed about her prowler being stolen.
Yes. Something that has... everybody steals her prowler every now and again. And, Dargo does it all the time, and she never really, really, gets angry about that.
I wonder why she chose the prowler and not one of the Marius transport pods, but...
That's a good point. We've seen her fly those before, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's not hard to fly. She does make a perfect landing on a planet...
Yes.
Where they pursue her to, although with some difficulty, because Pilot... He sort of snippily remarks that, some of my systems have been taken apart by...
Well, he doesn't actually say that.
I did not immediately detect her departure because several of my control systems have been offline.
But
he's even not very passive-aggressive about it.
He pretty much infers that whatever John has been doing is, preventing them from going after her, or... I mean, apparently not from detecting where she's gone, because we see next on... And I know you said we weren't going to do it blow by blow, but I think we have to set up the scene.
This is a good point, because this is the next major... The last two major arcs in here are actually the A and the B plot, which I don't think are anywhere near as important as the emotional arcs. So the A and the B plot there's this royal cemetery planet.
Yes, Outback 7, I think it's called.
How did you get there?
I don't know. It just kind of looked like that.
Outback 7 it is.
Where Chiana's immediately set upon the Lost Boys.
Yes! That's what they are!
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the sort of Logan's Run meets Mad Max. You know, the children from Mad Max.
Meets Peter Pan, yes. It's like Mad Max 2 or 3. 2 is, I believe, with the kids.
I had not even arrived at Peter Pan yet. When you said Lost Boys, I thought like Kiefer Sutherland and the hot like vampire.
No, I was more thinking Peter Pan at first, but...
Sorry, my brain's with Kiefer Sutherland and all of his various
I can see why your brain would be there.
adventures.
No, fair enough.
No, but I'll join you in the Land of Tights. So, this is the A plot, which is these young people living on this dead planet, and they only live to be 22 years old, and we slowly sort of peel back the layers of their thrill-seeking, drug-fueled philosophy.
Lifestyle, yes.
And how that can be prevented, because their lives are being stunted by exposure to radiation that is amplified by the caves they live in, and all they have to do is move out. Yeah, I know that's not how radiation works.
No, well, I mean, okay, so we'll get to that later, because there was like a lot of confusion on my end about
you know what
the hell,
Mintaka 3.
Yeah,
let's
what the heck
work
was
this
going
one
on
out
there.
first. Let's work this one out, and then we get
All
back.
right. So the Lost Boys actually have someone called the Lost, which are people who haven't taken the plunge, I believe, and are living on the fringes of the already fringe society, and they are slowly dying.
Because they're sort of cultural practice is that as you reach the end of your healthy life, you perform a sort of a suicide ritual called Taking the Stone, which is the episode title. And if you don't do that, then you decay and you become kind of gross and you get these pustules.
Right. But if you do and you survive, then apparently you still don't get to be old, because there's like nobody's old there.
Yeah, okay, so this was unclear to me as well, but what I think I figured out, so we see the ceremony early on, and we see some people jumping into this pit while yelling, and their yelling, Aaron recognizes that, activates a sonic net that actually cushions their fall.
Right, because the other one who doesn't yell smashes down to the ground. You'd think that they figured that one out by now, you know?
I think it's either a matter of courage or it's a choice.
Okay.
Because the one who falls, and like there's a whole plot about him and his partner who is carrying his child, and he's discovered the secret of the lost people, and that A plot was kind of tough to unwind because there's a lot of fancy, like a lot of neologisms being used here. Like girls are Nixas, dudes are Garnas, babies are Gnarls.
Ah, okay. I was wondering about that. Like at one point, I thought they were just calling everybody who is like not one of them Nixa.
I think it's gendered.
Oh, okay.
I think
Makes
it's
sense.
come on Garnas. He says to the lads. There's other stuff in there like Drad is cool.
It's gonna be Drad.
You scope something and you're true. Like there's a lot of it delivered quite well, I thought.
Yeah,
by the actors playing.
I mean, the first time
youths.
John and Aaron meet the Lost Boys, there's a whole monologue from one of them, and it sounds like it should make sense.
Venus amazed by you. Age lines, dead spots, you're historic, Nix.
Historic.
Let's go, goddess, they're worn out. Ancients.
But you can't really catch, and it's beautifully mirrored by John. As soon as the guy wanders off, looks at Aaron, and goes, like, "Did you catch any of that?" And that's exactly mirroring my sentiment. Like I'm sitting there, should I have turned the subtitles on for this one? It's just like some Australian accent that I'm completely missing out on. But no, this is intentional and very well done.
Yeah, I actually kind of like this stuff. Like, there's a not very highly regarded episode of Star Trek Voyager where Chakotay is kidnapped and has his mind sort of erased, and he's, for some reason, his universal translator works with this culture where they all have very different like speech patterns, and if you don't wrestle your trembles into rages, ally, like really Shakespearean nonsense like that.
Okay.
I kind of like it, especially when it's like there are consistent rules to it that clearly the actors understand and that the writer have conveyed, and it's up to us to sort of figure out what it. Also on this planet, for some reason,
Rigel came along.
Again, why?
Yes.
He's so, like, I'm thinking of, no, not IET, Jeremiah Crichton.
Right.
Where he came along with
Dargo.
With Dargo, and I cannot figure out why he came along on this mission. But he's glad when he does. He recognizes this as a royal cemetery planet. He even asks Crichton,
"Well, where did you bury your leaders on Earth?"
Just underground.
Next to where you lived? That's disgusting. Ugh.
Yes. Gross.
So the thing I thought was amusing, that apparently this is a death planet, or at least a graveyard planet.
Yes.
And it's full.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy crap, that's a lot of dead people that buried there if your planet is now full.
Also, maybe you're not really burying them well enough. Because there's
that.
There's a lot of depth, but I guess it's like
apparently it has big long tunnel systems for some reason. I guess that maybe the Lost Boys are the descendants of the original gravekeepers. I suppose, is that the word?
Oh no, graveyard tent. I should know this because I'm
grave digger, but that's just a person.
Well, yeah, but I have an uncle in this profession whose family lived on a cemetery and helped to maintain it in Northern Ireland. It was an interesting place to live. It's really kind of nice
and quiet. Yeah. Like, did you ever notice that almost all cemeteries have like a wall or a gate or a fence around it?
Is that to keep the zombies in?
Yes, it's not to keep people out.
Okay. I'm really glad that they put those up there. Although sometimes, a zombie jamboree sounds like a lot of fun.
Well,
maybe who was it?
Maybe for a zombie.
Was that Trini Lopez? Who am I thinking of? Belafonte.
Oh,
back to back and a belly to belly, and I don't give a damn because I done that already. Oh, back to back and a belly to belly at the zombie jamboree.
I don't think I've heard a lot of his songs, but I don't think I've heard that one. Rigel, being Rigel, immediately goes to grave robbing, even though he's admonished by John to not do that, and him decrying that. And then he goes he notices a shiny, and he pulls at it, and
there's more shiny.
Opens up, and there's like a huge case of cheap gilded metal goblet.
Okay.
It looks very cheap and fake.
Why is treasure always cups? Have you noticed that?
Yes,
it's
true.
Always a bunch of cups.
And rubies. Rubies are also very popular too.
Yeah. I guess, the props department has to make all of these or source all of these, and it is a lot of work.
Of course. And this kind of looked like it came out of, Muppets Treasure Island. It's like...
Upstage, boys. This is my only number. Hey, let's resolve this one first, because we've just added all the plot lines, but this one we can resolve, because he steals this treasure, takes it back up to Moya, gets found out by Dargo and by Zan.
Yes.
Zan starts praying over it, a new Delvian prayer, I noticed.
Oh, will you please shut up?
I'm doing this for your benefit, Rigel.
Thank you. Now benefit me elsewhere. I'm trying to sleep.
Because she's worried that it might be cursed.
Yes, because one of the things he finds is a mask, which comes with a little bonus. There's
a little sort of
so it's like
worm.
he opens a box, and it's like it contains this beautiful death mask, and then he takes it off, and there's actually the head that it still belonged to is still underneath there.
Yeah.
And it's got this big worm crawling out of one of the eye sockets, and he goes like, ooh, bonus, and he nags it, and then starts munching down on it.
Yeah. Oh, I remember reading about Jonathan Hardy, the voice actor.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's always so delighted when he reads in a script. Oh, and eats something. Ooh.
Mask turns out that Zan was right. Oh, I did love that little thing when she's trying to protect him, and he's like asking her to stop because she's keeping him awake when he's trying.
The only curse here is you.
Is on you would be on. Yeah. Oh yes.
No, he calls Zan the curse.
Yes.
Oh, yachts. The only curse here is you.
But he counters.
And anyway, if there is a curse, which there's not, it'll just be on me.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
And wanders off.
So maybe that's what her prayer did.
Oh, it actually cursed the things.
Well, no, just make sure that the curse is sealed in around
that makes sense.
Rigel, and then it can't be inherited by anyone.
Considering the hand movements.
Yes, exactly. She was just going, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me.
So, it turns out they are. He decorates his sleeping chambers with all the loot and remarks on the fact that it's a proper way for a Dominar quarters to look like.
To be surrounded by the bloody trophies of his conquests. Did he learn that from Crace?
Maybe.
Did he look around at all the Hynerian heads in Crace's boudoir and go, I should have more of this junk?
I want some of those. I'm pretty sure that he wants his cousin on there. So, stuff starts falling off the wall. He starts getting pelted by various items that he's stolen, culminating in a box of hairpins, which is
sort of erecting and jumping out at him, and then he finally relents and asks Pilot whether the transport is ready. All of this sort of felt like I don't know, like a sort of diorama at a like Walt Disney or the fantastic Dutch theme park, the Efteling.
Yeah.
Where you have all of these like little like fairy tale houses with animatronics inside, and the Danse Macabre, the wonderful animatronic diorama of a graveyard where everything comes to life and you've got puppets moving around.
I think it was just inserted in here as a B plot to put a little bit of levity in the episode, because otherwise it would have been a fairly dire
it's a very
episode.
Dark and grim episode.
Yeah.
I could sort of imagine that Dave Elsey from the Creature Shop sort of looked at this and goes, "Oh, there's nothing for us to do. There's no new creatures.
No.
Oh, can we have some worms? Can we make some jewels come to life? Come on."
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, I mean the only
because bored puppeteers are the engine of creativity.
I can imagine. Yes.
A budgetary nightmare.
I was going to say the only thing we get to see is a new hairdo for Chiana, and that's pretty much it.
A bad hairdo.
Well,
I'm very supportive of lots of, but this was...
I mean, I love her usual beautiful, bushy, silver grey, blue hair. It's like
so envious of her volume. And of course, she can do whatever she wants with it, but it looks like they just rubbed some clay into their
just to turn it into dreadlocks.
Pull it into... is that dreads? When you do it like that? Dreads have volume.
Well, it was still sticking all over the place.
These are sort of twists.
Yeah. It's how you start dreads.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a lot of experience, but hey, look at us. We have resolved one of the plot lines. So that's the Rigel plot line done with.
He ends up taking the jewellery back and everything that he's stolen and putting it back into the appropriate graves and stuff.
This is actually kind of satisfying to do. There's actually a little high when you resolve one of these plot lines. Do you feel it?
I see what you mean, yes. So that's like, we don't have to talk about Rigel anymore unless we want to. I also noticed that like we barely see Dargo at all. He has like a few scenes at the beginning and that's it. We don't see any of him anymore.
Yeah, Zaan also barely features. He has a little bit more to do when she's on the radio when they send a scan up to her.
Right. You'd think that like if someone's having an emotional crisis, so Zaan front and center, but no.
Oh, good point. Well, she must still be reeling from her own like abandonment of the Seek.
It's all on Aaron and John to make sure that Chiana gets back. Or at least is taken care of, or at least doesn't have any big problems.
They find Chiana in a weird chamber where she's hung upside down with swinging rocks around her.
Strangest foreplay ever.
She's yelling at everyone. She looks in danger of being crushed by those giant weights between them. And so John and Aaron wants to save her. This whole episode got to show off a lot of Gigi Edgley's athletic training. She has circus experience.
Oh, I was going to say, or dance. I was going to say dance.
Definitely.
Because, she moves beautifully. It's like even when she's just hanging there in those
in the trapeze. But she's an experienced
trapeze artist.
Trapezoid, I was going to say. Fuck it. Yeah, she's an experienced trapezoid.
The trapezoids are an alien species who never leave the circus tent. They're always swinging about, and their entire reproductive life cycle is...
okay, there's a PG-13 podcast, but we can see...
Takes place in the big top, yes.
So Chiana, when she was set upon by the Lost Boys, actually was included into their culture. They're young, they're thrill seeking. I noticed that as soon as the first one emerged, he sort of jumps up and he does the same sort of cat crouch that she does.
Yes.
They all sort of move like she does, so of course she'll feel at home here.
Right. I mean, the first scene when she first sees them, it has a little bit of assault vibes, which I guess is done because the guy's he pulls out his poniard or whatever the fuck the pointy bit is, and it kind of makes it seem like she's being
she's being attacked,
being attacked, taken prisoner, and then of course
let's mark her. But it's sort of a hazing thing,
that turns out. But like the viewer is left in unaware of this, at least until they come out of. She comes down from this weird contraption, and it turns out she was there voluntarily, and she was actually showing off because no one has ever lasted more than 15 microts in there. And I'm still not sure if a microt is a minute or a second.
It's sort of a second. I think it's a little longer than a second because they do say minutes. But I think it's spelled different as well. But a microt is 1 mippipipi, 2 mippipipi. Yes. Yeah, John and Aaron bust in, shoot up the place, thinking that she's being held hostage. These kids are easily cowed.
Yes.
They're actually not very threatening.
They try to be, but they're not. John is like having none of it.
And he insists that Chiana goes with him, but she says she doesn't have the time. She's rejecting him.
No, Crichton. No, I don't have the time.
And this sort of sets up the arc of John trying to like re-earn Chiana's faith in him. He wants, I think, the same relationship that they had before, where he's more attentive to her than she is to herself, and he realizes he's failed in that, and she realizes it as well, and so she won't give him that trust. She won't.
Well, yeah, she's like very much put out by the fact that he blew her off when she needed it, and now he kind of like has to re-earn her emotional trust that she can come to him when she's got something to talk about.
Right, and it's only made worse by the fact that he is rejecting her choice, which is to like. Seek these thrills and do these drugs and live this life as a way of processing, well, let's be fair, avoiding her grief.
She literally throws it in his face and says that she was supposed to be able to leave whenever she wanted. And she goes like, this is it, I want to leave. Yep. And he goes like, well, yeah, I kind of did say that, but I still think you're being stupid about it, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on. And
it's Aaron who takes the sort of right tack. Like, John, after this interaction, John gives the life disc to Aaron, says, go and find Chiana and show her this and talk to her.
And she's like, oh, well, should I do it? And like he's like, well, she doesn't really want to talk to me right now.
She's pissed at me.
Yeah.
That was a good insight.
Yeah.
Like knowing when to step aside when you can't do it. If only he showed that insight a little bit more consistently.
Well, yes, there's that. But I mean, he's been very good towards his crewmates in the last couple episodes, and yeah, this was a little bit of a lapse or a.
Well,
I wouldn't call it out of character, but yeah.
We've noticed that since season 2, he has some much more extreme reactions. Like you saw his pretty like extreme defensiveness toward Dargo, protecting him from the Orican. Like if the Orican doesn't support Dargo, then frell her. He was like very fiery about that, and he's just as fiery here about wanting Chiana safe.
Right, but he also seems to be a little bit more, how to put it, a little bit more to the extremes. One moment he's like super protective, and the other moment he's like he's fickle, I would almost call it. You never really know how he's going to respond. He can go extremely one way or extremely the other way.
That's really interesting. Like, let's look at that. Like, because that is something that's happening to Crichton. Like, when did this start occurring to you?
Oh, I would say probably after he got out of the chair with
the Aurora chair.
The Aurora chair, yeah. That's when he's become less laid back. I mean, he was always like anxious about coming home, but now he seems to be a little bit more angry one moment and concerned the next, and he seems to like swing back and forth between those two.
Yeah.
And you can't I can't always predict which one. It's like it might be slightly as the plot requires it.
Okay. All characters are slaves to the plot, just as the plot is a vessel for them.
Yeah.
I think he even starts to notice it. He asks Aaron,
Lately, do I seem a little crazy to you?
What do you mean lately?
And he's like, okay.
So she hasn't noticed. So,
or she's just being flippant about it.
Yeah.
Which would also not be beyond Aaron's. She does have this occasional streak. I think it's an avoidance thing. When she doesn't want to talk about something, that she becomes flippant.
I mean, she is not known for her humor.
No,
though,
well,
some people use humor as a defense mechanism to make light of tense situations. All I'm thinking of, do I actually know anyone on Farscape that does that? I mean, it's not John. He wears his emotions on his sleeve,
right? And he's always, but he hides behind colloquialisms and weird Earth sayings. Like as we learn in this episode, apparently he has somewhere picked up Cockney rhyming slang.
Yes,
which I'm just like, what?
Let's get her on the dog and bone.
Like, why
get Zan on the dog and bone.
Yeah, like why?
I think Aaron is even baffled, but sure, whatever that means.
Yeah, I think she's like taking those things in stride and just goes like, just smile and nod, like whenever
her translator
whenever he says
nap.
something like that. Yes. So yes, the leader of the Lost Boys is this guy called Molnon, I think.
Molnon, very good.
Molnon, okay, who is very much. Well, I think he's trying to get into Chiana's pants, basically. That seems to be his primary motivation.
Right. I thought he was really interesting. So his arc is that he wants babies. He wants to live longer. Like I sort of pieced it together a lot better this time than during my first few rewatches. And I've got to say, I did not rewatch this episode quite as much as others. It was not
on your list of interesting episodes.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites. But so he says that the only thing worth having is a gnarl, which is a baby.
Okay.
And he wants one, but his 22nd year is coming up. Yeah. And as the sort of spokesperson for Cliff Divers Anonymous, he has an obligation to jump, which he wants to pass on to Chiana, so she can jump and he doesn't.
Yeah, so that makes no sense. It's like, how's that
don't
work?
Get it.
How can she jump in his stead when he's already getting
and
up to his age?
And clearly you can just choose not to and become a lost person.
Yes, and I was kind of wondering, because like he says, like taking the stone is the second best thing, and then she goes on and she asks what's the first best thing, and like that is apparently having a kid. I thought he was just talking about sex.
Yeah, because he does kiss her.
Yeah.
At that point, they start making out. And
oh my god! Like, was that thing also an IUD? And are we going to have a pregnant Chiana in the future? Can I put points on that?
You can put points on it if you want.
I'll put. Ooh, do I want to go yes or no?
It's going to be double digits or nothing, man. Yeah, you can't.
I'll just put a little side bet on there. It's like
I know you've got 180. You've got 155 points left over. You've got
some of them are spoken for in
exactly.
lockdown in bets. Yes,
I think I think you've got two. Yeah, you had 185 points and you put down 2 30-point bets already.
All right.
So
I'll put 10 points on there being a Chiana pregnancy event. I'm not going to say like.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's a sci-fi thing, so
right.
Chiana pregnancy something.
Yes.
All right.
I'll put 10 points on that. But yes, so there's this the ritual seems to be there's this big pit, and at the bottom there's this sonic net, and you jump down, and it either catches you or it doesn't catch you. And if it catches you, you've taken the stone, and if it doesn't catch you, you've given yourself to the stone, which is also fine. Everybody's happy with that as well.
I didn't get. I think it's if you eat shit, then you've taken the stone.
Oh, is that
and
it?
then they scrape you off. I think. There's a lot about this that I
and they've got
this
like gesture that they do, which is like the arms above the head. It's almost like one of those arm dances. It's very Thai dancing style movement, you know.
I thought that was so cool because it's this sort of like amen gesture, but it's really surprising. Comes really abruptly when Molnon does it.
It's a slow movement down towards both, and then suddenly arms up.
Yep. And it doesn't seem to be like precipitated by anything. It's just decided to do, and then everybody responds as quickly as possible, like at some kind of Rochambeau challenge.
It's kind of like you have to put your hands above your head, like not it, or like your finger
nose goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, do you know Get Down, Mr. President?
Yes, I do.
Where everyone in the group, like one person, like touches their left ear until someone notices, and then they also touch their left ear until everybody touches their left ear except one person who's then
dog-piled on, and it's like
Get down, Mr. President.
Yes.
See, it's these kind of games that they're playing with much higher stakes. At this point, I want to talk about the set and the costumes because we spend a lot of time in this pit set, and it's filmed from below, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, they've got like these few little diving board platforms which people stand on before they take the plunge,
and there's all this ochre lightning. It's so goth,
and there's one
not even gothic, just straight up.
Yeah.
Like goth.
There's a few shots where which look up to the top of the pit, which almost look like it should have been something, but it looks more like there's a dome up there, and we never really
probably some like mausoleum of necropolis.
Never really comes up again. What's going on with that? There's a little bit of reverent looking up at that, but then it's just back to jumping into the pit and
So this jumping, I mean, it's really cool how these guys do the jumping. Chiana, who eventually does get to do the jump
backwards.
Yeah, she said she really enjoyed it because it was an especially high jump. She really liked that to do those stunts.
I assume she just landed on some sort of trampoline or mattress just out of view of the camera.
Well, so here's a case where, originally the costumes were going to be much skimpier. These were going to be sort of surfer-looking people.
Yeah.
But they had to hide the safety harnesses.
Ah, yes.
They had to be able to wear safety harnesses so they could, because there's wire work when they land, when they're caught in an air cushion. So their costumes had, like you see, it's all these straps, and like all of that is sort of built around the safety harnesses that they had to wear.
That makes sense. Yeah,
isn't that cool?
And it looked gorgeous when she finally takes the plunge, and of course survives because she's a main character. But like her body, her movement, the way she arches her legs and arms, and it's just gorgeously graceful. It's like amazing to watch that scene.
It's like she landed in I don't know, like foam or jello, and she's just letting herself glide down. It's beautiful, and just the sinuous grace of Gigi Edgley is. magnificent.
Oh, something to behold, that's for sure.
Speaking of something to behold, another sort of makeup/costume choice, there is one pregnant young woman here, and she has a transparent belly.
Yeah, that was kind of like weird.
But I thought it was such a cool choice. Like, you can actually see the baby growing.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, this is just a feature of this species.
Right, well, the later notes in the later scene, it was covered up.
Yes. Okay. Using still on the Mintaka 3 thing, we're jumping all over the place.
Oh yeah.
There's one of the later confrontations where Aaron and Crichton talk to this young woman whose partner, I think, he eats shit early on.
Yeah, he's the one who dies at the first time we see the ritual.
After he's figured out the secret, actually, and that's what they get out of her, while she's, I think, in labor.
Yes,
and they're trying to be.
Like, yeah,
and she's screaming and yelling, and they're like, just
tell us a little bit more about that. It's like,
advance the plot, please. Can you?
Yes.
That actually really bothered me watching this young woman in obvious pain. I mean, I thought for a second maybe she's just having a super duper hangover because we saw her with her big old jug of moonshine earlier on that she was swigging from.
No, I think this was definitely labor contractions.
Right.
It seemed like the kind of thing that was going on there.
No sympathy from Aaron or John.
No.
So we've hit, I think, on most of the sort of major movements so far, except for one, which is it's Aaron who understands Chiana. Aaron, when she goes to see Chiana that very first time and she tosses the life disc at her, she's ready to walk away, and Chiana opens up to her and says that it's about her brother, Neri.
And now apparently dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Aaron stops and listens to her. And throughout this episode, Aaron tries to teach John that this has to be her choice, that Chiana is processing her grief,
yes,
and she's going to make bad choices, but the solution is not to stop her making those choices. She's eventually going to, if she wants to kill herself, is that what she's here to do? Yeah. She can do that on Moya. We have suicide at home. I'm sorry. That was super flippant.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit, because there's a scene where John talks to Molnon, and Molnon says, I'm not telling you anything unless you eat one of these shrooms. There's 4 of them, they always grow in 4, 3 of them will make you high, 1 of them will kill you.
Yeah.
And John, I was surprised by that. He just goes, takes it, and he goes, he just munches straight down. That seemed like very un-John thing to take, a 1 in 4 chance to die.
Not gonna talk until you taste.
I mean, he wants the plot advanced, but do you think Chiana is maybe not the only one who is
kind of done with? Yeah, I mean, Chiana's stricken with grief. John is just probably get to the point that he's getting fed up with it. But it's a 1 in 4 chance is a pretty big risk to take.
While he's in this drug haze, which is a lot more potent than, I mean, he's kind of cool when he takes this little cluster of shrooms and he nibbles on one.
So yeah,
I felt a little bit envious because I like mushrooms. That's probably it's probably quite tasty. As a food.
I mean, even
I've never tried the recreational stuff.
But yes, it's more like sativa actually, because it comes on really fast and apparently doesn't last very long either, because it he has a brief conversation with.
As a psychotropic, you mean?
Right. Yes.
Sorry, you said sativa, and I thought, isn't that a type of tea?
Sorry, I meant salvia.
Sorry, that's definitely not tea. No, wait, sativa.
Sativa is a
weed
strain. Yeah, you've got sativa and indica.
I'm not cool. So
I think you're very cool, Kaki.
Thank you.
Drugs don't make you cool. It's what you do on drugs that make you cool. No, wait. But yeah, he gets some information out of Molnon about...
Don't do drugs, kids. Let them do you.
Oh, dear.
Oh, no. I'm going to...
We might have to edit that one out.
It's not going to be a very long episode, then.
But yeah, he has a talk with Molnon. I can't actually remember what information he gleams there.
Okay, I've got you covered, because I was really sitting there paying attention and making a lot of notes. Yeah. This was really tricky because he uses a lot of these words of scoping and gnarls and.
You got no idea, God.
So this is when Molnon reveals that he wants to live and have a baby, and that he wants Chiana somehow to take his place, and that is his scheme. And he expects Crichton to forget because of the drugs that he made him eat.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really make sense.
No, it's how can she do that? Take his place and jump in his stead? It's I mean, he's going to die anyway because he
eventually,
Yeah.
and then this continues where John, after he bumps into one of the lost people,
Yeah.
and who has these pustules.
Actually, can we go back to that plot line? I just want to, because I jumped back to this because I wanted to talk about the scene that comes after this.
I forgot that I was already in a flashback.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Deeper and deeper into uncharted territory he'll go.
So after John takes the mushrooms and he recovers, we see him opening a med kit and eating some medical jelly beans.
Yeah, and palming or keystering one of the autopipettes.
One
the
of the
PK autopipettes.
the injectors, I believe. And this is when we're coming back to the scene where we're talking about, is he basically injects Chiana with it, knocking her out, throwing her on the shoulder and starting to take her back to the Prowler.
Yep.
And gets stopped by Erin, who goes like, no, you can't do that. It's like, if this is her...
Yes,
this is
no,
her,
you're right.
This is her choice. You can't kidnap her, and that's when we come to the scene. Like, if she wants to, like, she has to process this. If she wants to die, then that's her choice, and taking her away from it isn't going to stop that.
And Erin is so calm throughout this. She's calm and decisive. She's actually not going to let John move, but she's also not meeting him at his emotional level. She's being the voice of reason that normally John tends
to be, yes, and she manages to convince him. Yeah, no, he absolutely. He agrees. He's standing there defiant for a little bit with Chiana over his shoulders in a fireman's sling, and
and asking Erin, this is the right thing to do now. This is saving someone we care about from harm. But Erin, she explains it to him. No, you're taking a choice away from someone who deserves to have their own choices, and the whole point is.
Yeah. And he agrees with her, and he puts her back down, and he lets her. Sleep off the whatever it is that he injected her with.
Yeah.
When did you get so insightful?
I understand loss.
So do I.
Then there's not then, we're jumping all over the place here, but I think plot-wise,
no idea where we are. But
I think plot-wise we're covering everything because John meets one of the lost who is covered in pustules, and he gets a little skin sample of them, which he gets analysed by. Yeah, it's a bit weird and goofy.
I thought it was kind of cool that you can scan up a sample. Because he has Erin go to the Prowler, put this in a scanner, and then Zahn will do the readings.
Well, I presume it's like the scanner's there and you just sending the data up there.
Yeah.
And, Zahn discovers that they are slowly dying by radiation damage, which is kind of peculiar because the background radiation level isn't all that high.
But according to your readings, the radiation level is only 76 trads.
Is that high or low?
Low, I would have thought.
Huh. Is that too low to make somebody sick?
Yes.
Trads. Hey, do you remember that from your trivia quiz?
I do.
Yeah, very good.
And weird, it's a little bit of weirdness from John there because she said it's only 70 trads. Of course, it's going to be a little. It's like pay attention, Mr. Scientist.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's like apparently the pit amplifies this, and
something.
Therefore, they jumping into it makes you get older, except you don't get older anyway. And that's where I got a little bit confused in what the whole deal with the Lost Boys and the background behind this.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The Logan's Run aesthetics that we're getting.
Very good.
From the flying and the jumping.
I think ultimately it does make sense, and it does sort of hold together. I think there's a lot of additional cultural complexity that we're not really getting here.
Mm-hmm.
How does this ritual work? How does the transference really work? There's something about the clans that have to vote and decide whether they move out from these sources of radiation or whether they believe it or not.
Because John brings this information to Molden and says, we can solve your problems. You don't have to die at 22. You can just move out to the surface and you'll be fine. Because it's something down here, the pit, or maybe the sonic shield amplifies the radiation or concentrates it, and the fact that you're standing here and doing your thing is actually the thing that is making you die. Which is kind of they have this ritual that they do to avoid dying, but that's actually the thing that's making them susceptible to the radiation.
If that's it, maybe there's some other chamber. I don't know. It feels like maybe the script went through some iterations. Mm-hmm. I have no knowledge on this, but that's sort of I have a little bit of experience as an editor and writer, and that's sort of how it feels to me.
I can see how that works.
That it maybe had a lot more exposition in earlier drafts, and that later drafts sort of focused more on the really emotional arcs taking place.
Which I think is what this episode is all about.
Wise decision, I think, because I don't mind that I didn't completely get that plot, because it was clearly being dealt with. That was still all set dressing for Chiana and for John and for Erin to explore these emotions. Actually, no, Erin is just wise here. it's John and Chiana who have to explore where they are, which comes to a head in the sort of final scene with John and Chiana.
Yeah, because the clans have apparently declined the vote. They voted to stay down here and keep doing things the way they are.
This time they're alone in the pit.
Yes,
and Chiana is still sort of standing on the ledge, the sort of gargoyle ledge, gazing down, and she says that she wants to jump, and John is, I think, like he's earlier he told her, like, I know that you want this, but you can't possibly want to die.
They voted to keep jumping. They want to die. I just can't believe that you want to die.
And that wasn't it completely.
No.
That's what he thought she was trying to do, and what he wanted to stop her from doing it. And like, there's certainly something of that in there. But she tells him that Neri her brother was always the brave one.
Yes.
And she felt like she was always just tagging along for him. And she wants to do something brave.
Yeah, to honor her brother or something like that. Maybe.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be like to honor her brother, but also to imagine that she can live in a world without her brother.
Right.
That she can summon this courage herself.
I mean, she says like, that her brother's the brave one, and that she's never done anything brave in her life, which John immediately denies. He's like, I've seen you do lots of brave things.
Yeah, you came to the Gamak base with me for a lark.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine what the standards of courage must be for Nabari then?
Or maybe just for Chiana.
True.
I mean,
You've shown me courage plenty of times.
I gotta see if I can do this, Crichton.
Nimbari, they have their didn't they have their emotion dampening things? Wasn't it the whole point that she was under arrest for being emotionally free or something like that?
Yeah, for non-conformism.
Exactly.
was her crime, and they do have that mind cleansing that they performed on Durka.
There you go. Yeah. And this doesn't sound like a very conforming thing, and maybe her brother was also like that, or even more so than she was, and then she's like maybe being trying to live up to her brother's reputation or her brother's respect, which she might be trying to earn, even though he's not there.
And yeah, now even though he's barely mentioned at all, there, like, the brother looms large in this in this episode, and the relationship that Chiana has with this person whom she barely talks about, until Crichton sort of gives his support. That's the thing that she needed from him the most.
Sort of, yeah. He stops.
To accept.
He stops fighting her. He's still clearly very worried when she actually starts to go and do the jump thing, or at least falling backwards in her case.
Yeah.
But he doesn't try to stop her. He doesn't try to like make a rush for her, grab her, or say no.
And he doesn't leave either.
No,
he stays with her.
He does immediately lean over the edge of the pit to see how it ends, which I think is a courageous thing to do in his own right. I mean, I'm not sure if I would be wanting to watch that. You know, it's like, I know there's a chance that she'll get caught, and I also noticed that there was the swell of the music, and you had the choir sound that you heard as well.
It's so beautiful
during the first when the first few people were jumping and who did get caught by the net, and that was absent when the person who didn't get caught jumped.
Yes, that's right.
There was already
he cut out.
Yeah, there was already an audio cue that it was going to be all right.
Oh yes, and the others were all do, and he was ah, and then Chiana was do again.
Oh, okay. I didn't quite catch that.
She lands and she's fine.
Yeah, and this is where we see more of her beautiful gracefulness, how she hangs in the wires and gets caught by the net.
Such a great trapezoid.
Oh, yeah.
And John cheers her on.
Yes, he immediately, as soon as he sees he's fine, he's whooping, he's hollering.
He's elated.
Yes.
Woo! I did it!
And it didn't feel performative. It feels like there was something in him that needed this as badly as she did.
A lot of tension melts away the moment this is over.
And they're sharing this moment together. Now, okay, here's a question that I've been wanting to ask this whole episode.
Yeah.
You've been a skydiver.
Yes.
Did you relate to this kind of experience? Have you seen this kind of...
for a start, it's incredibly difficult to do how you see these people jump down and stay so perfectly flat during low speed freefall.
Oh, okay. So tell me about that.
Once you get up to speed, it's relatively easy as long as you keep your back arched and you do a bit of a shuttlecock shape. You'll be stable. That's
okay, because then you're
rush.
Making like a cushion of wind underneath.
Exactly, and you have your limbs dragging out sideways, which causes the stability. Especially when you're jumping off a ledge like that, and this is something that especially base jumpers have to practice, is to that they don't start tumbling.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what does that require?
A very careful jump. Basically, you have to make sure that you don't over rotate and that you that you don't have a rotational momentum. And that's why when they're falling forwards off the ledge, you give yourself a certain rotational moment.
You add a spin, yeah.
Exactly, and you have to be very careful to make sure that you don't get that. And so falling down a shaft like that, most people would end up tumbling and bouncing off the sides rather than going straight down the middle. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what the Sonic Net is already helping with.
Maybe it is. Yeah, that would be a good explanation. But those were my primary thoughts when I was watching this. As for
imagine how it would have looked if it was more realistic. Just Dopplering down to their doom.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
We're not laughing about very savoury things this episode, I noticed. Gosh.
I guess it's like we have to put a bit of levity into which would otherwise be a very dark episode.
But it's kind of appropriate. Like it's a really mature episode. This deals with okay, drugs, youthful drinking, teen pregnancy,
emotional development,
emotional crisis, brushing with death as a means of processing trauma.
Probably not the healthiest way to do that.
I was going to say the heart wants what the heart wants, but it's probably more like the adrenaline gland wants a little exercise now and then too.
You need a good squeeze in here.
But yeah, there's a lot of, this is a really, really grown up a set of subjects for an episode. And then there's the wonderful animatronic lunacy of Rigel's cursed treasure.
Rigel is a bit of the...
his pirate booty.
Yes, he is a bit the comic relief in this episode, I would say.
So good at it.
Oh, yes, of course. It's you can always count on Rigel being hungry and greedy. And it's always easy to play off. It's
Rigel doesn't need anyone to approve of him.
True.
He can have a good time on his own.
He doesn't care about that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, I think he does care, but he pretends not to.
Yeah.
There was one more moment when I thought that was a little bit of reminiscent of Peter Pan, when he's at one point, John is holding Molnan. I think he's holding him captive, and he's going, tick, tick, tick.
Yes. Very good. Yeah. So that's a moment where he's where Chiana's about to take the stone, and he stops that with all the other youths around. I don't know.
That's when they go into the talking about bringing it to a vote whether or not they should move to the surface. I think.
Yeah, I didn't even get what the vote was about.
At one point, both him and Aaron are pointing their guns at everybody, and it's.
Who are easily cowed. But yes, he grabs Molnon, grabs him in a headlock, and taunts him with, hey, do you want to take the stone? How about we go together? And
tick, tick, tick. And that was a little bit of the TikTok croc or whatever it was in...
Well, okay, so in this allegory, what does that make him? Is Crichton Hook?
Well, no, Hook is the one who gets threatened by the ticking, so that would make Crichton Peter Pan rather than...
Crichton is Peter Pan, all right.
Although, Molnan is clearly... usually meant to be the Peter Pan, but he is also the Hook because he's the one who has the scheme in getting other people to die for him. So it's Molnan
and then Chiana is Rufio.
Yes, she totally is. That is, she would do.
I learned something on the other podcast, Rebel Air. That's Air with an H, where there's a side character at one point who's played by the same actor, Dante. I forget his surname, who played Rufio.
Oh, nice.
He went to the same high school, same year as Pedro Pascal.
Oh, wow.
From The Mandalorian and Game of Thrones. Just imagine being in a class like that with that kind of like gloriously hot talent. Because
right.
I mean, I don't know about you, but in my day, I had a little age-appropriate crush on Rufio.
Oh, he was a little bit young for me at that time, but
well, young Kaki had some complicated feelings about.
I mean,
that
I
one.
can see it. Like he was a very handsome lad. You know, the mohawk, the red hair. Actually, you did a little bit of the hair coloring in your younger days.
Did.
Yes.
And now that I'm thinking about it, that Rufio may have left a bigger mark on me than I remembered.
All right. So
I
think we've actually picked this episode apart.
Yes, it was an unconventional approach, but I think that really worked for this episode because like the main A and B plots didn't really sort of work.
They didn't mesh very well. No,
work for me. I've got to say, but. Yeah, those character arcs.
It's not about the sequence of events, it's about what everybody goes through.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. Although, like, part of me worries that we'll hang up this recording and then we'll remember, oh, we totally forgot to talk about, like, the gonzo 20-minute animated sequence of drug-fueled psychotropy where he rides the dragon and, you know... We can't stay here. This is cave bat country.
Aren't all bats cave bats? Oh, no, I guess some of them live in trees.
Then why are they... Wait, okay, I mean, I said that to be funny because, you know, it's a reference to Hunter S. Thompson, but the original is fruit bat country. Fruit bats are named after what they eat. No, so what does that say about cave...
It's just bat country.
Oh, it doesn't
matter. There's no fruit bats in North America.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, let them eat caves. Do you know there's more species of bats than any other species of mammal?
Oh, I did not. I guess there's like lots of variety in bats.
Yeah,
I mean you have like literally stupidly tiny bats, which are like the size of size of your fingertip, and then you've got the huge flying foxes ones. I mean, I wonder if that makes the subclass with the largest variety in size.
Interesting.
Between the smallest and the largest member.
Well, if you take deer, they come in really, really ickle versions. Like the dik-dik is a tiny little angry deer.
Yeah. The Kanchiel is even smaller, I think.
The dik-dik has the mobile nose, though. That's so cute. Also,
prehensile nose.
There's a great Twitter account that just posts pictures of these little animals, and it's called Dik-dik. Unsolicited Dik-diks.
Yeah.
All right. Willies and Woodies.
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the willies.
Yes.
Tricky,
right? I had one. Okay, I think my Woody definitely goes to Chiana's choreography.
Oh, good one.
Yes. That's definitely. I mean, that she is gorgeous in this episode. It's like she moves beautifully. She's a delight to look at. Even in the moments when she's in distress. Even in the opening scene of the episode when she's kind of like stumbling through the corridors in her seemingly drunk or drugged stupor. But like even then, her movements are kind of like prowling.
Yeah. You cannot take your eyes off her when she moves. That's a really good choice.
As for my Willy, I think it'll have to be the nebulous plot devices around taking the stone and what's going on with.
Yeah, I'd be in. Yes,
it kind of detracts a little bit because it had me really think, okay, what's going on? He wants to like get her to take the stone, but it's never really explained how this works, and like also if they'd survived, then apparently they still don't get old. That was all a little bit.
Yeah,
I know it was like not really the point of the episode, but still.
And also probably like some eager listeners will explain it to us that we just missed some very basic stuff. That's
very well possible, but I still, that's the thing that I was sitting there wondering about while watching the episode. Like, I can't follow this.
I get you. That was very much my experience the first time I watched it as well. I'd be curious to see if there's earlier versions of the script by Justin Monjo that might clarify this a bit more. I think that's a very good choice.
All right.
For myself, I think my Woody will have to go to like the costume and makeup because these kids like
they've got these almost Celtic tattoos on their cheek and this fleur de lis on the forehead.
Yeah, exactly. They've got these beautiful patterns that they make on themselves. So Woody for makeup, Willy for hair because I don't love that. Oh, wait, hold on. I mean, you look at Molnon, He's got the red twists as well with the clay in it.
Yeah.
But he's also got grey in there.
Yes.
As if he's got a layer of grey goop there first, or maybe like grey was last season's hair colour, and he's upgraded
that seems
into.
like it makes more sense. Yeah.
But
and
then
Chiana has the opposite because she's
Yes.
got like the grey skin, but she's got the red markings where they've been rubbing the clay into her hair.
Yeah. That was actually kind of a okay. So that's going to be iffy little Willy, which is my nickname in high school.
Oh, that's horrible.
And that's the story so Farscape.
We'll see you next week with episode 204.
Crackers don't matter. And okay, so I've opened up a little form. You can check us out on Twitter. It's @SoFarscape and ask us about that. I've opened up a little form where our listeners can submit their synopses for future episodes, and we got a bunch of synopses for this one.
Let's see how much I can piece together from what's going to happen next week from these synopses. So, first from Patricia Vanover, we have humans are superior, shooter, and then we'll have pizza and margarita shooters. Where's my damn ice cream?
Yes. Next is Wookie, and nice try. We are not saying the rest of your username. The lesser life forms lose their minds when a snake oil salesman sells them a pipe dream to protect Moya from unfriendly eyes. Featuring the Great Cracker Shootout, Scorpius's coming out party, and puke-covered clothing.
Wow. Well, there's more crackers from Grace, who says there's just too many damn crackers.
Grace. Grace, who is @Marshlandwitch on Twitter, and a few months ago she did a rewatch of Farscape, and her tweets are fantastic. Like, one of her tweets was like a lesbian asking a straight couple, so which one of you is the multi-limbed crustacean, and which one of them you is the living biomechanoid ship?
Okay, yeah, I can see where that was coming from.
From Matthew B., after a supply run leaves much to be desired, namely for soup and salad, a blind Fivehead visits Moya to help. After some inexplicably mutinous behavior, old Blue Eyes shows off his bondage skills and demonstrates just how remarkable humans are.
Ellie Rocks 110 says, blind guy watches Family Feud.
And then follows up with another one, an unconventional move where someone delivers two of them, but I welcome it. Space roommates begin to hoard and fight each other over food when the fridge is empty and all that's left is the stuff in the pantry. A friend comes over that none of the roommates know, and they just kind of keep to a guest room doing whatever they're doing.
Okay, this is going to be one hell of an episode. Yes. Well, apparently Scorpius is going to show up again, but other than that, I'm not sure what on Earth is going to go on, or what on Moya is going to go on.
Good job, everyone. So that's going to be Season 2, Episode 4, Crackers Don't Matter, coming up next week.
You can find us on SoFarscape on Twitter and Facebook, and on SoFarscape.com. I'm Kay.
I'm Kaki.
So Farscape, so good.